All right. So this is our second webinar. We're really excited because this month is also Rare Disease Day, and it's the best time of the year to raise awareness for rare diseases, including the ones that affect our families. And so Rare Disease Day is always the last month of, or the last day of February. It's an international day, and this year it's on leap year, so it's the rarest day of the year. Um, I just want to make sure you all are seeing what I'm seeing. Yep. Do you want to talk about this one?
Sure. And so, as many of you know, our major vision and the reason that we all came together to start Channeling Hope Foundation was to really strive for a future free from complications of NALCN related diseases. And specifically, our mission continues to be to bring together a community of both researchers and families together to advance care and to develop treatments for children, adults, and families affected by NALCN related diseases. And want to emphasize as well, it's not just those with mutations in NALCN, but anything affecting the NALCN channel. So including families with UNC80, UNC79 mutations as well.
And based on feedback, we did make a change to our vision. And so now our vision is for a future free from complications of NALCN diseases, recognizing that for our children, mutations are here and we love them. And so we want a life that is fulfilled and free of the complications of the diseases.
And then the other piece of feedback we received was to make sure that we make it as clear as possible that we really mean to include as many people affected by NALCN related diseases as possible, which is why we made sure to emphasize the other proteins involved in the NALCN channel and that have diseases associated with them.
Down. Okay.
And so I just wanted to start by just giving some of the scientific updates, and happy to go more in depth on any of these that would be most of interest to families and to people. And so there's been a couple projects that we've been working on. When we first joined and got started, there was two priorities that were really identified, and this was a huge thanks to scientific champions like Arno Montiel, who I think is on the call amazingly. Thanks for joining so late. In the team that he's been working with, as well as other NALCN researchers. And so two of the initial priorities was first drug discovery for NALCN related diseases. We know that these diseases causes changes in neurons and in cells that cause these neurons and cells to fire abnormally. So if we can find a medication or a drug that can correct the changes caused by these mutations in the cells, then those can have a major benefit. And that's been seen in some of the animal models of the disease, that by correcting the changes caused in the cells, in the neurons and in other cell types can have a potentially meaningful benefit. And so to do this, we brought together a collaboration with much of the scientific advancements that Arno's led in developing the tools and models for the diseases, as well as with a drug discovery team here at UT Health San Antonio at the Center for Innovative Drug Discovery to see if we could try and test various medications, small molecules, and other potential compounds to serve as potential treatments for NALCN related diseases. And so for this, our plan is to test 75,000 different compounds and to virtually screen 2 billion different compounds to see if they could potentially serve as treatments. And this would be a first step towards identifying one. And really the lowest hanging fruit, and what I would share, the best case scenario is if we could find an FDA approved drug that's already available on the marketplace that can serve as a treatment. So we're going to plan to test FDA approved drugs as well as many other compounds as well. Those would take much longer timelines to be able to potentially validate them and to use them. but this is a necessary and important step forward, is to first try and identify what those compounds are. So this is for the drug repurposing. The second priority was to develop human-induced pluripotent stem cell lines, and these to be derived from patients specifically. And so when studying NALCN-related diseases, and when trying to develop and test different treatments to see if it helps, right now the model being used is not from a patient with an NALCN-related diseases. Essentially, they're trying to recreate these diseases, but really the best way to most closely match with whether a treatment works is to test it in patient cells. And so to do that, the step involves generating patient cell lines that can then be used to better study these diseases, to test potential treatments like these any compounds that are identified in the drug discovery, as well as this is an important step in order to be able to develop gene therapies and others, is to have these patient-derived stem cell lines. And so we've, with amazing support from friends and family, we've now raised the funding to be able to do this, and have collaborated with Baylor in their neuronal stem cell differentiation core. They're willing to generate these stem cells for us, and we're now in the process of trying to acquire the samples from patients and from families to be able to do so. And so these are on the drug discovery side. An important aspect, though, for any potential treatment is to really develop a patient registry. And what I mean by this is, right now that there's a few small cohorts that have tried to study what are the clinical symptoms of NALCN related diseases. How does this change over time? What treatments have families tried that worked? Which ones have not worked? There's been no studies that have really followed patients over time. And those are so important, both to help answer our questions. What can we expect going forward in our children? What percentage of patients have this symptom versus this symptom? What medications seem to help for certain families that other families can try? And is there changes in the brain that happen over time, like development of ataxia or degeneration of the cerebellum or other parts, atrophy in certain parts of the brain? And to do that, we need a longitudinal study. And the approach that many other rare disease organizations and research groups have taken is to develop a patient registry. Because we have the challenge that patients are spread so far internationally. It's really hard to bring everyone into one place to do a study to follow them over time. And so through a patient registry, this information can be added to an open access, not a protected open access database for researchers around the world to be able to use to study these diseases. And we can use this to answer the questions. And so that's really our next big priority, is to try and develop a patient registry for NALCN related diseases. Having this information is critical for testing any potential treatments. So the FDA, to approve a treatment, really wants to see that the medication changes the disease course over time. The challenge we have now is the disease course for NALCN diseases is unknown. So to really be able to move treatments forward, we need to understand what's the longitudinal trajectory, or what's the medical scientific term for that's the natural history of NALCN related diseases. And so our next big step after starting these two projects will be to develop a patient registry to better answer these questions and to prepare us for future, for the next step in moving treatments forward. And this is all in huge thanks possible to our scientific advisory board. And so we're really fortunate that 11 premier scientists from around the world have been willing to join and help support us in identifying what are the scientific priorities and efforts, and where can we as an organization and group of families best help move the research forward faster. And so we had our first scientific advisory board meeting in January, led by Dr. Montiel. And it was wonderful getting to see so many motivated and experts from around the world. Our hopes to expand by adding 2 additional scientific advisory board members in 2 additional continents, so we could have better scientific representation globally. And so those are some of the things we've been working on the scientific side. There's a million other things that we'd love to be able to do. And so this is just a glimpse of some of our organizational things that we'd like to be able to do. And so in just running through some of these, just to give you a sense of the things that we're hoping to be able to do. So first, from an organizational standpoint, that we need to make sure that we have the infrastructure to be sustainable for the long term. So making sure to enlist in legal support for any collaborative agreements, particularly if we're looking to generate resources. We need to make sure that we have all the requirements for a nonprofit organization, like audited financial statements. We want to stay engaged with the monthly newsletters, quarterly webinars, biannual conferences. We want to support chapters globally who have expressed interest in starting, like in Germany and potentially in other countries. We want to create organizational metrics so we can track our progress over time and make sure we're staying on track. We'd like to join many other organizations, and we'll talk more about this later, but the reality is, as an ultra rare disease organization, we can move forward together with other ultra rare disease organizations and combine our resources and efforts together, so we can make a more significant impact across all of the collective ultra rare diseases. And so there's various platforms to do that, including Combined Brain, rarest, NORD. We'd like to get involved in the rare disease days and resources for rare and ultra rare diseases. We'd like to be able to host the next NALCN International Conference. And then to continue with creating the various merchandise that you see we're featuring here. We'll be more on that later in fundraising. We'd like to develop resources as well to support families affected by NALCN diseases. So these include things like making information sheets on each of the diseases for families, and to give to other family members or other people who ask about these diseases, as well as ones for physicians and providers. As I'm sure many of you have learned, we have to teach our providers about these diseases. So it'd be great to have a medical resource to be able to hand to new providers, so they can quickly get up to speed on NALCN related diseases. We like to make a list of all the frequently asked questions by parents, so new parents know where to go when they have initial questions, and as new questions arise for anyone, as well as to share a path of what can be considered after diagnosis and what should families know after getting that initial diagnosis. We like to make a map globally of where all the NALCN families are located. We've definitely loved getting to interact with other families, and it's been invaluable, and we'd like to be able to foster that as well as knowledgeable clinicians. If we have clinicians who have cared for multiple patients with NALCN related diseases, then they by default become experts. So knowing who and where those clinicians are located. We'd like to develop, honestly, family support groups. I think in working in the organization, each of us have found it invaluable just getting to talk to other families affected by NALCN related diseases, and to learn from each of our experiences, what worked, what didn't work, which beds to order, what can we expect going forward, how can we best advocate for our children. So we'd like to be able to set up family support groups as well. So those are just some of the family support efforts. And that's not even touching on the research. So we'd like to be able to make an email listserv for researchers that they can sign up to and get access to the newest publications, the newest funding opportunities, any other relevant conferences. We'd like to expand the scientific advisory board. We'd like to really be able to develop research enabling infrastructure, so things that can support researchers around the world to perform research on NALCN related diseases. So developing the iPSCs, but then we have to be able to send it around the world. We want to be able to create a biorepository as well, to go along with the registry. We really need to do a thorough evaluation of the various registries and biorepositories to identify what's the best fit for us and for NALCN related diseases. We want to enroll families in the registry who are willing and interested to help us to learn more about these diseases. We want to make resource databases for researchers to know who's currently working on NALCN diseases, what resources do they have available that they'd be willing to share, what's their contact information if you're interested in those resources. We've recently talked about generating polyclonal antibodies and plasmids to help support research. we'd like to start to develop and offer pilot funding for researchers around the world to start research on NALC and related diseases, as well as continue to keep our publication list updated. And so there's a lot of things that we'd like to be able to do. I think what we've realized at this stage is we're really all of us are volunteer parents who are working full time and raising children, and we realize that to be able to do all these things, we really need more help and support. And so that leads us to the next prompt, and I'll let Cheyenne take over from here.
So far, we've been a small but mighty team, but I know there's more out there that have reached out about wanting to help, but maybe you can't give as much time as sometimes we give. We lost one of our vacation days this week because we were working on an exciting grant, and we'll talk about that next. But we know there's a lot of people who even if they want to sit down and write thank you notes for us, that there is something you can do to contribute. And so we really want to build our next level of leadership and volunteerism. And these you all would be our ambassadors of hope. I envision that you all would be regionally, you'd be around the world, you'd have different passions, different expertise, or just time. Whether it's if you're up monitoring O2 levels in the middle of the night and you want to write some thank you notes, we'd love to have your support. So we're just going to pause, and there will be some time to go ask questions about all the science that Jeremy mentioned. But looking at this list, if you're interested in something, or you have another idea, there's something that's missing in a way that you could see yourself getting involved, feel free to come off mute, put it in the chat box, or email us after the webinar. And what we're going to plan to do is have a follow-up call, a smaller call with you all to try to game plan. We all meet weekly for a couple hours, one night a week, but we kind of envision maybe we meet with you all monthly or quarterly, depending on your participation.
And really depending on what works for you. I think we all realize we all are balancing multiple things, but the reality is that we kind of reached our capacity, and we really need to there's no one in the world who's going to care more about advancing research for NALC and diseases than us. It really comes down to us as families to make an impact. And so the more help and people on board that we can get, and whether it's family, friends, anyone who's interested, we'll take all the help we can get. And if any of these stand out to you, please, we'd love your leadership on any of these items that we're interested in building, or potentially other things that we're missing or we didn't even have room to include on here.
There was a quick question in the chat that I just saw. I don't know if you saw that, Cheyenne.
Go. One sec. Oh, maybe I didn't. Was it just to you?
Nope, I can read it. It's if you look into CHOP and is it mini ACN lab?
Well, I'm not familiar with the mini ACN lab. Are you able to tell us more about it?
It's
And I can share. So one of our scientific advisory board members is at the University of Pennsylvania, which is affiliated with CHOP. I see. So I have spoken out to groups at Southwestern early on. I think if that's something you're willing to reach out to, we're willing to work with anyone who's interested and willing. And happy if you're willing to reach out to them. I had reached out to some providers and experts at UT Southwestern initially, and essentially they shared some overall advice, but didn't seem particularly, at least at that early stage, interested in getting involved in research. But I think the more people who reach out and otherwise, that'd be awesome. And so if that's something you're willing to reach out to, that would be wonderful, and happy to further discuss with them if they're interested in potentially doing so.
And Rebecca, we have reached out and worked with Ethan Goldberg, who is at, he's more clinical at CHOP. So Ethan Goldberg has been a partner throughout as well, so.
Thanks, Becca. And then going back to this slide, were there any questions about what Jason or Jeremy introduced? Okay. All right. Well, we would love for you all to get involved with us. It's also just been really great. There's 5 parents that are meeting weekly, and we've become this virtual family, and I can't wait till I can hug them all. But would love for you to join us. All right, so this is the grant that we had just applied to, Rare is One. We were so excited that the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative ran a third opportunity for funding for rare disease organizations. This would be, if we get it, it would be $850,000 that goes to organizational support and research enabling support. So it would really allow us to grow exponentially and put some funding into the administrative side. So we'll keep you updated and keep our fingers crossed.
So this was a really unique opportunity for rare disease organizations focused on channelopathies. This was a kind of once in a organizational lifetime opportunity. So we're really excited to apply for this, and we'll keep our fingers crossed.
So sorry, I was the one with the crazy unmuted, so I apologize that Shan had to talk over me. I'm Jill, and I introduced myself earlier. I am marketing and communications, and then I also do social media posts, some of the social media posts. There are others that participate. I want to share with you, Shan mentioned that we are working through a grant that will provide some organizational support. And so we have done some research on different organizations on how we can combine efforts. So the goal of these organizations that we've listed here is to, they're devoted to speeding the path to clinical treatment. So getting there quicker by pooling efforts, and not just within NALCM, but within all rare disorders. So there's ways that they are doing patient registries. They're doing studies across the disorders. So maybe something that's working for another disorder might help us. Our scientists would be able to access any information that's provided through membership. So we are working on some collaborations. And I know Rebecca mentioned a few others, and we'll definitely look into those. I know we need assistance. So if you have an in, or you have somebody that you can talk to and provide information, that would be the best path to get it in, because like we said earlier, we're all kind of at our max on this. But with the collaborations, one thing that I learned in doing research, and I'm sure many of you, especially if you have older children that did not complete genetic testing until they were at an older age. My daughter was 5 when we started the genetic testing route. When I can remember, like it was yesterday, going from appointment to appointment, especially even just at the beginning with my pediatrician, or being even in the NICU and talking about different things that I remembered. I have older children, so different things that I saw even in Rory at birth that were different than my son's. And that whole time I just kept getting questionnaires like, can she do this? Can she do that? And the answers were always no. And there was nothing after that. And it was devastating. And I'm sure I'm not the only parent on this call that went through that. When I did some research on the Combined Brain, which has a project called Project Find Out, I found that they now are developing a list that they can give to physicians, or even parents can find themselves, where you get to answer yes to some questions. And they're not the questions you want to answer yes to, but you get to answer yes and maybe get a result, maybe get something happening after those questions are answered. So I put a little graphic here for you to see the list that they're putting out. So there's symptoms of possible genetic conditions. And the way that they are sending this out to physicians and to families is to say, if your child has just two of these 7, you should consider genetic testing. And whether that's through a hospital, through your specialists that you're visiting, or even there are some organizations that are providing genetic testing. I saw this list as I did my research, and I teared up immediately because Rory had 7 before 3 months old. So she had 6. I'm 6 of the 7 before 3 months old. So, but at that time, genetic condition never came up as an option in any of the specialists we were visiting with. It was always, oh, she's just delayed, she'll catch up. And so this it really touched me, and I wanted to share that with you, that the science is going fast. It's coming along. I mean, that's 7 years of science that's gone from me sitting with my pediatrician and them saying, she's fine, she's just delayed, to now that same pediatrician might say, we need to get you genetic tested, and would have opened a lot more doors sooner for us. And so I love that that's what's happening with the science. And that's mainly the reason that I want to be a part of Channeling Hope and a part of pushing this research forward, because we are parent-led. We have say in the decisions. Jeremy shared so many things with you that the SAB recommends. All of that comes back to us as parents to say, do we want to support that? Do we want to fund that? And we do that as a group, because we are the ones that are affected the most. Our children are the ones that are affected the most. So this is my hill that I'm going to stand on for why I support Channeling Hope.
Thanks, Jill.
Great. So I know at the beginning of the call, we definitely called out Rare Disease Day is coming up. And I think this is a huge day for us, because we can not only celebrate our community that we have here for this ultra rare disorder, but also spread awareness of it. And I think that's the biggest thing that we would ask of everyone, is just to help spread awareness. Our social media platforms have skyrocketed. And I think that is just by spreading awareness and sharing our posts and whatever you can do to help. So just to call out a few big things, as you know, we do have some of our Channeling Hope Foundation merchandise available. We have some special items specifically for Rare Disease Day. And then we have some of our original items. I know Cora is wearing some, Jill's wearing some. Amanda keeps taking her hat off, but she was wearing it as well. So please check that out. Please share it with your family and friends. The more awareness that we can bring to this, the better. And I think that's the biggest thing that we can do as a community. I know Jill has a few ideas that she can share that she has done for Rare Disease Day.
Yes. So thank you. I can't second enough what Diana said, where it's kind of our day, right? So it's, I know that many different disorders and diseases have a special day. And of course, there's not the NALCN and related disorders day. So this is our day to bring awareness to what our children are going through, or our children need from the community. So I just have some ideas to share with you on things that might be a great way to celebrate that day. So one of the things that we're doing that I'm really excited about is Rory, my daughter, is in 1st grade, and we're going to have a party at her grade school. So we're going to have cookies and treats. And one, it's to celebrate how wonderful her school is to her and the inclusion that they provide. So it's our way of saying thank you, kids, for just being great. And then also it's a way to kind of share with the community. We're going to, of course, take pictures and put it in the newspaper to share with the community that this is something that we're dealing with. And there are so many families all over the world dealing with it. Another idea is partnering with a local business, whether it's putting a sign up for the week or for the day. I know some businesses will do a special item that they'll sell and provide proceeds, whether that's, we would love if that would be to Channeling Hope to kind of help with our efforts for research. Bakeries, coffee shops, a small boutique. Usually it's something local, something that means something to your family, a place you visit often. So they know you and they see you as a customer and want to support you. Requesting donations for the day is a great way to celebrate the day. We have the ability to set up a fundraiser. Diana or myself or Suzanne, we can all help you get that done. And then also you can do a Facebook fundraiser. So I think you've probably seen before, if you're on social media, the birthday fundraisers that people will put out. You can do one to Channeling Hope, and you can do one for Rare Disease Day to Channeling Hope. So, and if you have any questions, you can message us on any of the social media accounts or email us, which I put in the chat, and we'll help you get that done. Something else that is a great idea, and we're going to do this one as well, is to auction something special off for fundraising. So I'm from Kansas, and just recently our football team won the Super Bowl. And I don't know how many of you are Super Bowl or NFL fans, but we're going to auction off a special Travis Kelce item for fundraising. So just something small. It's within our community. Hopefully it just goes crazy and it's all over. Everybody wants to donate on it, but and then giving those proceeds to Channeling Hope so that it can help our mission. And then, yes. Oh, and then also awareness posts are just as great as all of the other things I mentioned. So just helping people understand what you're going through, maybe even just a picture of your child and maybe some of your own story. Channeling Hope has lots of posts that you can share if that's just easier for you to share one of our posts. And if you need ideas or you want assistance, reach out to me because I have a whole bunch of different things. And the way that you reach out to me directly is just through messaging me on the social media. And we can get you something to an idea of what to post. The last idea I want to share for you that I just love is, and I'm going to make my husband, the weather's nice enough, I'm going to make him put up our Christmas lights again. He's not going to love this, but Nord celebrates a Light Up for Rare. So putting lights out, you also see it through Rare Disease Day, they'll post Light Up for Rare. So I'm going to have him put some lights on the front of the house for Rory to celebrate February 29th, Rare Disease Day.
Awesome. Thanks, Jill. So one last thing I do want to share before I think we're handing it over to Suzanne for one last comment is that I am looking to organize one big fundraiser for Channeling Hope this year. And whether it's a run/walk, would love to get as many folks involved as they would like to. So I'll certainly be sharing information as we get closer to that date. I did a run with family and friends last year, and it was extremely successful. We were able to fundraise a lot of funds for Channeling Hope. I know Cheyenne also did as well. So looking forward to collaborating with all of you on what we can do to have our big fundraiser for the year for the organization as a whole. Suzanne, did you want to jump in with your last comment?
I can jump in and, thanks to Jill for some of the great ideas. My son, Lucas, decided he loves donuts. And so we went into a local donut shop, and for Rare Disease, they are going to be doing a Oreo donut that's going to be black and white and represent like that zebra. And so he is super excited to bring donuts into school, and he is going to be sharing a book he wrote. It talks about ways that he is like everyone else, but then some ways that he's different. And it's become more important because he's in 3rd grade and he's really relying on more his wheelchair and other devices to support him at school. And so he really thought it was important for his friends to know, and he thinks he's going to be a local celebrity. So he's very excited. One of the things that we've been able to do is partner with some really great folks in the community. And Dr. Wendy Chung is the chief of Boston Pediatrics, which is huge support in the rare disease community. She actually just received the Rare Impact Award from the National Organization of Rare Disorders, NORD, which we've talked about several times. And we've asked her for a comment for a little bit of a press release, and we're happy to share this as well. I'm sure Jill will make it look beautiful because she has a very big talent for the social media and the posting. But Dr. Chung had sent us a quote, and she said, "Rare diseases may be individually rare, but they are collectively common. There are millions of people living with rare diseases. Today and every day, doctors like me care for rare, and it's our privilege." And so, I think that as parents, it's just amazing to know that we have, Dr. Dr. Arno, who's on the call with us, supporting us. Sorry, I would butcher your last name, but we appreciate having him and Dr. Chung and all of these great people supporting us in our community, and channeling hope, and really to channel hope for our kids and for those affected by NALCN disorders.
Thanks, Suzanne.
Thanks, everyone. Well, I'm going to post as well. So the National Institute of Health that does a rare disease day at the end of February every year. So it's going to be this Thursday, and they do a video cast, and they have a lot of great seminars, presentations from other families, organizations, and experts. If anyone's interested, it's really was a I think the first rare disease conference we attended after we got they're one of the first after we got the diagnosis, and was found it really valuable. And so just wanted to share that as well for everyone.
And so this is, as an organization, this is our first Rare Disease Day. And you can kind of see the different directions that we took it and how much we were able to do with just our 5 heads. And so hopefully, next February, we can celebrate even more. I think just a testament, there was a parent who was like, let's do cookies for a cause. And I think that week, Jill went to 4 or 5 businesses in her small town in Kansas, and every one of them said yes. And so I was like, whoa, what if we all did this? So really looking forward to future Februaries. So I think I'll stop sharing so you can see everyone's faces and can open it up to questions or comments. And we kind of finished a little early, and so even if we what I'll do is I'll stop recording. Thanks everyone for looking online.